In the small town of Gloomhaven, hidden from prying eyes by dense forests and dense mists, there was an ancient legend about a vampire clan that secretly ruled this place for centuries. The inhabitants of the city whispered in the night about monstrous creatures coming out of the dark corners of the forest to absorb the life forces of their victims. A young researcher named Adrian Holloway decided to investigate these mysterious stories, hoping to discover the truth that had remained hidden for many years. Arriving in Gloomhaven, he was greeted by a gloomy atmosphere and the wariness of the locals, who were insistently silent about the vampire legend. On the first night of his stay, Adrian went into the forest, exploring its dark paths and paths swallowed up by darkness. Suddenly, the winds began to whisper warnings to him, but his curiosity overcame his fear. Penetrating deeper into the thicket, he discovered an ancient building. It seemed that it mysteriously rose from the dark shadows. Noiselessly entering, Adrian found a room full of antique furniture and an otherworldly glow. In the center of the hall stood a mysterious figure, a beautiful woman in ancient clothes. Her eyes sparkled with a red scarlet, and sharp fangs flashed in her hands. The vampire legend turned out to be alive. The woman introduced herself as Lilith, the leader of the vampire clan living in Gloomhaven. She told Adrian about their ancient origins, how they fed on the energy of the living, preserving their eternal life. She invited him into her world, promising to share knowledge and immortality with him. However, Adrian, despite his attraction to the dark world of vampires, felt that a mystical danger was associated with this meeting. Returning to the city, he began to investigate the stories of local residents, meeting with those who had lost their loved ones in mysterious circumstances. Gradually finding out the truth, Adrian realized that Lilith and her vampire clan were embroiled in a deadly power struggle with another, more sinister clan that sought to absorb not only them, but all life in Gloomhaven. It seems that the ancient curse of their families has haunted them for centuries, and now it's time for the forces of darkness to settle their scores. Adrian became a key figure in this struggle. His decision to help Lilith and her clan defend their hometown or to try to find a way to end this eternal suffering by destroying both clans stirred his soul. In the dark corridors of the gathering night, he carefully searched for answers, while the forces of evil penetrated deeper and deeper into the heart of Gloomhaven. In pursuit of the truth, Adrian discovered that the mystical forces that had kept vampires in a silent shadow war for centuries were beginning to collapse. The land of Gloomhaven was becoming a battlefield where centuries of accumulated sinister energies found their way into the light. Encounters with mysterious figures and creatures shrouded in darkness became more and more frequent for Adrian. He learned about ancient prophecies foreshadowing the arrival of a powerful vampire who, according to legend, would be able to reconcile to warring clans or plunge Gloomhaven into eternal darkness. With every step Adrian took through the dark corners of the city, the vampire war was gaining momentum, each clan striving to use his knowledge to their advantage, offered him powers and opportunities that he could not even dream of. Lilith, representing the Elder Clan, promised him eternal love and power over the shadows, and another clan, calling itself Black Dew, promised unprecedented magical knowledge and power capable of turning vampire energy into weapons. Adrian's heart fluctuated between light and darkness, between the old and the new, but something more significant was maturing inside him, a determination to find a path that, despite all the forces of darkness, would preserve the light of Gloomhaven. Under the cover of night, Adrian went into the forest again to uncover the secrets hidden in the shadows. There, among the ancient trees, he came across an ancient altar surrounded by unknown runes. Imbued with determination, he began to unravel the ancient signs. And at the moment when the last rune was revealed, the earth moved, and a portal to an unknown dimension opened in front of him. There, in the light of distant stars, Adrian encountered the Oracle, an ancient spirit who predicted the approach of the end or the beginning, depending on his decision. The Oracle offered him a powerful choice: accept his role as a great vampire who would reconcile the two clans, or become an illuminated hero capable of exorcising the darkness from Gloomhaven. And now Adrian, standing in front of the crossroads of fate, must make his choice. But the dark shadows of Gloomhaven continue to weave around, and that unpronounceable whisper of the wind is a harbinger of storms that can change the whole life of the city. And the secrets hidden in the ancient forests are waiting to be solved, so that light or darkness engulfs Gloomhaven. Adrian, immersed in light and shadow, felt the power of the Oracle penetrate his being, tearing him between two worlds. Under the pressure of the upcoming decision, he decides to leave the portal open, allowing the forces of light and darkness to enter Gloomhaven. From this moment, a storm begins, reflecting Adrian's inner conflict. Vampires from both clans sense changes in the energy of the city and rush into battle, not understanding what is happening. Bloody battles flare up in the shadows, and the sky over Gloomhaven is torn by lightning, sparkling like volcanic flames. Lilith and the leader of the Black Rose, realizing that something unusual is happening, come to Adrian, looking in his eyes for answers to their questions. But in his eyes they see only unresolved mysteries and conflicts reflecting the dark storm. In his soul, while the city is in chaos, Adrian realizes that he is responsible for his choice and for the fate of Gloomhaven. He heads back to the forest, to the place where he first met Lilith. At that moment, he realizes that he needs to find the key to reconciling the two clans before the darkness consumes everything in its path. In the deepest forest, where ancient trees whisper their ancient stories, Adrian discovers an ancient artifact, a forgotten amulet symbolizing the unity of light and darkness. He realizes that this may be the key to solving the curse hanging over Gloomhaven. At this time, both vampire clans are approaching. Feeling that their fate once again depends on the young researcher, Adrian, holding the amulet in his hands, encounters Lilith and the leader of the Black Rose in the heart of the forest, where ancient forces are at work. Now he faces a decision: to use the amulet to reconcile the two clans and save Gloomhaven from imminent darkness, or reject its power and let the vampire war destroy the city. But at the same time, an ancient mystery can be traced in the shadow of the forest, which can change the whole idea of what is happening and destroy even the most ancient forces underlying Gloomhaven. Adrian holds the amulet in his hands, feeling its warmth and the strange energy that radiates from the ancient artifact. At this moment, Lilith and the leader of the Black Rose, looking at him, feel excitement and unknown magic, which makes them slow down their steps closer to the researcher. The amulet flickers with light, recreating the picture of the unity of light and darkness. At this moment, the ground of Gloomhaven begins to shake, and the trees in the forest whisper their age-old prayers. Light and darkness are fighting for power, and the air is filled with magical tension. Adrian, absorbed in the moment, hears the whispers of ancient spirits begging for reconciliation. He understands that the amulet can be the key to resolving an age-old conflict, but it also contains powers that, if not managed wisely, can cause even more terrible consequences. At this time, a shadow appears in the forest, a creature so ancient that it does not fit into the concepts of light or darkness. It was an ominous fusion of both aspects, the embodiment of the ancient mystery that lay at the heart of Gloomhaven. The horde of vampires, stopping in front of this inexplicable phenomenon, begins to realize that they have become puppets in the hands of ancient forces, and Adrian, standing in front of them with an amulet, has become the key to the fate of Gloomhaven. Lilith and the leader of the Black Rose, assessing the current situation, realize that they must join forces to save their clans and Gloomhaven. But the shadow coming out of the amulet rises into there, a harbinger of something bigger and more terrible. And now, inside this vortex of the forces of light and darkness, Adrian is on the verge of a decision that will not only change the fate of Gloomhaven, but also unravel the mystery of his own soul. The forces collided, and the answer to the question of who will win in this ancient struggle lies in the hands of a young researcher. A whirlwind of magical forces envelops Adrian, Lilith, and the leader of the Black Rose. The amulet in his hands begins to glow brighter, as if absorbing all the heavenly bodies into itself. The collision of light and darkness creates a bright flash, flooding the entire forest with sparkling light. At this moment, something unimaginable happens. The shadows disappear, and the vampires are freed from their age-old shackles. Lilith and the leader of the Black Rose, looking at Adrian, realize that he was able to reconcile the two sides of his soul and become a bridge between light and darkness. The last traces of fear and doubt disappear from Adrian's eyes. He mastered the powers of the amulet and gained the wisdom to transform the conflict in Gloomhaven into a source of new life. The air is filled with freshness, and mystical energy dispels the darkness that enveloped the city. At this moment, an ancient spirit appears, the shadow of the true essence of Gloomhaven. He blesses Adrian for his decision and warns that the ancient evil that waited in the shadows has not completely disappeared. But now the city has a defender, a guardian of light and darkness, merged in a single harmony. The amulet, now filled with wisdom and ancient magic, sinks back into rest. Gloomhaven remains once again drowning in silence. But now this silence carries the promise of rebirth and peace. Lilith and the leader of the Black Rose realize that their clans are now bound by a common destiny and must exist in balance. They, as a sign of gratitude and respect for Adrian, decide to join forces in protecting Gloomhaven from any threats. This is how the story of Gloomhaven ends, where light and darkness found their unity. But in the shadow of ancient trees there remain secrets that continue to attract those who dare to look into the depths of the past. Adrian, now the guardian of this ancient city, remains in search of answers, because his soul is forever permeated with the magic of light and darkness, leaving a trace in Gloomhaven that will last forever.